Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting of the Cleveland Heights City Council to order. Addie, roll call, please.
Russell.
Here.
Sheets.
Here.
Maddox.
Here.
Posh.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Petrus.
Here.
Cobb.
Here.
We have no excused absences because we are all here this evening. There are no amendments to the agenda, and there were no minutes to approve. So I'm going to move on to communications with the mayor. He is not here, but I would expect that City Administrator Dumas has a report this evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of council, and to the public. I have a very brief city administrator report. We are currently going to be having a public records law kind of a conference for us to understand compliance with public records. We're getting a few requests that are rather large and in formats that we generally don't keep records, and they go back quite a few years, like 2016, 17. So I want to revisit the public records laws to see if we have to devote that much time to that kind of voluminous request. So we're going to be working with law to understand what our compliance issues are. We're also working with communications to be compliant with the posting of contracts, as you have requested, Madam Chair, through the contracts that are $7,500 to $50,000 on the website, as has been required by your past legislation. So we'll be doing that. We're also going to be doing an inventory of vehicles and their current assignments. We want to look at them for efficiency, assign who they're assigned to, and their planned replacement, and whether or not they serve a business purpose, or if those individuals need those vehicles. It hasn't been done in a number of years, so we plan to do that. Law is also looking at with us some new packaging for some requests that go to law for fulfillment that would add pertinent explanations and information that would expedite a response from the law department. So we're looking at a couple of other cities and the kind of packages that they present to law when they ask for drafts of contracts or legislation. And of course, it contains all the information. It doesn't have to do the back and forth with the individual departments. So we'll be looking at that. We're currently posting and interviewing for members of the executive staff, and that includes the finance director, the director of human resources, and the city administrator. And that concludes my report.
Anthony from Public Works, there you are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Here tonight to talk about some issues at the sewer department, 2863 Noble Road. This is the overview of the properties. 2863 is on the right-hand side. Thunderbolt is on the left-hand side, where all the cars are and everything. This is the plot from Cuyahoga County. You can see how on Thunderbolt that the actual property line cuts through those parking spots. It's an awkward, how it's set up, it's very awkward, but that's the plot. This is Google Earth 2022. The previous administration under the city manager verbally agreed to allow the previous commercial owner Hollis to use 4 parking spaces at Cleveland Heights service lot because of the oddly shaped size. The previous administration also provided asphalt between the 2 lots indicated by the red arrow there on a verbal condition that the neighbor must use his own driveway to access spots.
Excuse me, Anthony, will you speak into the microphone or adjust that to your height, please?
I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yeah.
Sorry. The previous tenant, Mr. Hollis, and Mr. Quillis met with Supervisor Jeff Jackson asking if he would honor the agreement. He agreed. This is just another Cuyahoga County survey for GIS. As council is aware, but people may not be, council approved bidding of project 25-02. That's to repave the city lot. It was advertised plain dealer August 15, 2025 until September 2nd. This project requires the removal of everything in the lot for paving. Hence, that's why the castings and the barrels were placed where they are. Right there. In April 2021, Director Zamp issued the Thunderbolt conditional use permit. Number one, applicant should maintain landscape area. Number two, applicant shall screen dumpster. Number three, all activities shall take place in the building. Number four, no junk, inoperable, or unlicensed vehicle will be permitted to remain outside for more than 48 hours. Number five, this use shall not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity or create a nuisance for adjacent properties. The applicant shall work with staff to resolve any complaints from neighbors, and all required construction and installation of the use to be completed within 18 months of approval. In June 3rd, 2025, Supervisor Jackson wrote a letter to Mr. Quillis asking him to stop using our lot and to use the original spaces that were given to him. It just says in general, we write an ordinance, that your unauthorized parking on our property is strictly prohibited. Specifically, we observe vehicles belonging to Thunderbolt park on our lot without permission. There are parameters that were given upon your arrival as a neighbor, and these are being overstepped. Although we value you as a neighbor, it is not a workable situation to have other cars parked in our lot, especially when we're conducting city business. This is some of our city business that we have going through there, and this happens daily. We have semi-trucks coming in and out to deliver supplies. That cars on the right are from Thunderbolt. As you can see, it's blocking, it's sitting on our driveway. This is another constraint. We're trying to get out of our own lot. The tow truck there is prohibiting us from exiting our own lot. Cintas delivering uniforms, set of property, is sitting in our driveway, preventing anybody from coming out on that side. On the picture on the right, there's a tow truck delivering a vehicle. Large trucks have been having a problem entering our lot because of the turning radius. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have those big trucks that are over 30 feet long, trying to make a right-hand turn into our own lot just to either be stopped, have to reverse, or cut it way too close from hitting a vehicle that's not even Cleveland Heights'. This is some pictures of the use of our lots. Tow truck, Cintas again, delivery trucks right in our driveway. This right here was a vehicle that was stored on, or that was dropped on our property on February 7th. This is the vehicle being removed 15 days later. That was serviced by Thunderbolt. This right here, I don't know if you can, let me see. This is a tow truck driver being instructed by Thunderbolt to back up and pulling our lot. This is some more tow trucks, broken cars, and the van on the right-hand side is the one all the way in the corner of our property next to our fence. This is employees of Thunderbolt working on said vehicle on our property. Thunderbolt started parking out on Noble Road when the barricades were there. As you can see, you cannot see left coming down Noble Road unless you actually pull out into the middle of the street. This is a very dangerous situation. And it's in a school zone. More pictures. I don't know if people are aware, but there is heavy traffic coming down Noble Road from Warrensville. And for them to whip around the corner like that and to have the whole bunch of cars just parked there, it's just waiting for me an accident. These are some of the trucks that enter and leave daily. Like I said, 36-foot log trucks, aerial trucks, case loaders, backhoes, triaxle dump trucks, tandem dump trucks. These are water jetting and vacuuming that the city just purchased, over 30 feet long. This is an overhead view of the properties as it stands now.
Just for extreme clarity, this location is, of course, next door to a sewer maintenance operation for the city. We have heavy, large equipment, as you've seen there. And of course, this has to be in and out with ease in order for us to deliver these services to the residents. As it stands right now, we have encroachments, as he's defined, on the city lot that interfere with these services and with these large trucks coming in and out to deliver these services to the residents. This infraction creates employee and visitor safety issues, traffic issues, and liability issues because we're dodging around these cars that have encroached onto the service delivery area. Any solution has to reduce these problems and allow city business to be conducted safely and efficiently on our own property. Since October 1, multiple 3+ interdepartmental meetings. We brought in planning, we brought in safety, we brought in a lot of different departments, meetings with action steps and follow-ups, and at least 3 meetings on the site with the owner. The city has offered to assist with some on-site work to increase hard surface parking for Thunderbolt and to remove the obstacles so that we can conduct city business out of that service area. The city will need a revised site plan for the updated new conditional use permit, and that is the owner's responsibility. So we want you to understand that because of this encroachment that has grown and no compromise has been met, it is now interfering and creating a dangerous situation for us delivering city services.
I just want to say in short, this always has been about safety. It's been about the safety of the public work employees who come to work every single day. moving their trucks in and out, not to have their vehicles damaged by tow trucks, dropping off junk cars, broken cars, whatever. They deserve to be safe, coming to work, going to work, and leaving work. That's all I have.
Thank you for this information. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Councilor Cobb.
Sure. Can the law director expand on what potential legal liabilities we might have?
Certainly, Councilman. Obviously, there is potential liability that the city could face for non-city parties who are present on the city's property who are injured by collision with one of those very large city vehicles that Mr. Ferrone showed pictures of, for example. Would there be arguments that they shouldn't be present there and so forth if that were, to occur and to go to litigation? Of course, there would be, but nevertheless, there's the potential for liability. There's also potentially liability associated with injuries to workers. Workers' comp could come into play, but if somebody were hit by a tow truck, there was a slide that I'm not sure was clicked to play, but there's one of those slides shows a tow truck turning around in front of the city's building as it's maneuvering, and that's a situation where a city vehicle could be hit with that truck. There's liability there. There's potentially liability that could be associated with large city trucks or trucks visiting or other large vehicles visiting the city property who can't get easy access and are stuck out halfway into that busy road where you can see there's a high volume of traffic at a high speed in many cases. So those are all examples of how there could be liability for the city.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Posh.
So I just want to clarify, there doesn't appear to be any kind of resolution plan in place that satisfies the needs of all parties. Is that accurate?
I think that's accurate. One clarification I would offer has to do with the next to last bullet on the slide that's on the screen now. The obstacles in particular that are referred to as being removed. The city has offered to sort of a la the many years back paving of that way to allow access from the Thunderbolt side to the parking areas provided pursuant to that verbal agreement that Mr. Ferrone mentioned. Do some additional paving. There was some vegetation in an area that's now grassy in between those parking spots and the Thunderbolt driveway. That area could be gravelled and paved. The city has offered to assist with that work and also to remove a tree at the front of the property to allow wider, more unobstructed access to that driveway so that it could be more effectively used by the business.
And these would be things that would be done at essentially our cost.
That's correct. That's the offer in the hope of reaching an agreement that would help the business succeed and utilize that property, but protect the city and its employees and eliminate or greatly reduce those interference issues that were shown in the pictures and videos. It's my understanding that the current mayor was out there last week. I think there have been additional meetings even since then. I don't believe an agreement has been reached yet, but there has been a lot of time put into this, a lot of work. I'm hopeful that somebody will come to the law department and say, this is kind of where we're headed. We think this works for everyone. Can you draw something up?
So as one of 7 here, I know there's good people on all sides of this, very good people, and a business, both a commercial business and a city business that we all have to respect. And just knowing city time, things just take a lot longer. There's just more steps you have to go through when you're a public entity. So I just hope everybody understands that. But I hope there's a good meeting of the minds. I mean, we've been periodically updated. This is the first one that we've had a very public presentation, and I thank everybody for that. And I don't speak for council. I think we're all individuals, but I'm hopeful that we as a city can be neighborly and try to find a solution so we can still be in business and they can be in business too. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferrone. Appreciate you. And I would like to say that I do hope this comes to a resolution between the two entities. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Report of the Clerk of Council.
I just wanted to briefly give an update that last Friday, I did send out some 500 notices for the December 15th public hearing for the severance zoning. So you expect to get a notice from the city if you haven't already, if you're within kind of the area that is being done.
All right. Thank you, Addie. Public comment. Addie will be entering any property owner complaints directly into Access Cleveland Heights tonight to ensure that the appropriate department is assigned to the complaint. Addie has informed me that we have over 15 speakers this evening, so we will be allowing you to speak for 2 minutes. That will be on the clock up there, and when you hear the beeps, that's time for you to please bring your speech to a close. And when you step up to the podium, please remember, state your name, your street and/or neighborhood, so that we know which area that you are speaking from. So we're going to start with legislative public comments.
I just want to briefly say too, there are some commenters that are going to be commenting on the severance rezoning legislation. That is going to be under general comment tonight because it's not on our agenda tonight, but you will get called. So just want to let everyone know that. So first up, Jacqueline Rimmer.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Rimmer. I live on Monticello Boulevard and my business is on Noble Road.
Antoinette Salon Productions on Noble Road.
Usually I come up and I have my little phone out and I have a nice little something that I've already kind of had my thoughts together over the past week or so of what I wanted to say. And I'll be honest, at this point, I'm at a loss for words. Disappointed, the level of disappointment that I have as far as where we have not gotten as far as this legislation is concerned. I'm almost to the point of heartbreak. As a business owner and a resident of the area, if there is a time to say I feel unseen and unheard, it's now. It's now. And for some of you that I voted for and re-voted for, I wish I hadn't. And I'll tell you this, some of you will never get my vote again for anything.
Addie has brought this to my attention that we did not have a presentation that was supposed to happen during the departmental reports from the chief of police. We're supposed to be doing Chief Britton, are you still out there?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Just a moment while I welcome in Officer Danford. But at the moment, I'd like to call up Mrs. Barbara Dunlap and her family. Oh, yeah, please come on up. Go ahead, please go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to let his daughter
okay.
and his grandson.
Hi, no, yeah, please come up and this is your time and I'll follow up with comments, but they'll explain the reason why we're all here this evening.
Hello, everyone. My name is AJ. I received a text message on August 2nd of this year that my grandfather was in an accident. And I'm calling, no answer. And that's not like him. Every time I call him, he answers his phone. And I'm just calling. And Officer Danford answered the phone and said, your grandfather was in an accident. Here's the location. You can meet him here or the hospital. And so I rushed there at the scene and found that my granddad was non-responsive. Come to find out, Officer Danford, he did CPR on my granddad and saved his life. And we just want to say from our entire family that thank you so much for everything. He checked on our family every other day, checking up on my granddad, checking up on me, checking on my father. And I just want to show him respect that he deserves. Thank you again, Officer Danford. Thank you. Everything's all right. He stayed at the scene. He did everything right. And from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know as I stand here today, I'm certainly proud of Officer Danford and all the men and women who serve the police department. I know we're, you can correlate Cleveland Heights Police with parking tickets or speeding tickets, but we always do more than that, believe it or not, behind the scenes. The officers here, we train and try to prepare for the unexpected in hopes of not having to act. But Officer Danford did that evening, and he responded, not thinking about his own safety or well-being, reacted appropriately, and did what he could to save his life. With that being said, I'd like to award Officer Danford with the Life-Saving Award, which reads, who on the second day of August 2025 at approximately 7:03 p.m. responded to a report of an accident in which a vehicle struck a tree at the intersection of North Taylor and Sylvanhurst Roads. Upon arrival and without delay, you initiated CPR and other life-saving measures to the driver, Mr. Eddie Dunlap, who suffered a medical emergency and was found without signs of life. It was through your initiative, steadfast determination, and with disregard to your own personal safety, acted heroically in saving his life. Your actions have brought great credit upon yourself, the Cleveland Heights Police Department, and the city of Cleveland Heights.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Appreciate you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great work. Back at it, Eddie. Go ahead.
Okay, we're on to general comments now already, just so you know.
Okay.
Nicole Ortiz.
Hello, my name is Nicole Cintron Ortiz, and I'm a part of the Latino Medical Student Association, and I'm here tonight with Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. We're here to thank Mayor-elect Jim Petras for taking a stand for immigrant rights when you committed on our endorsement form that you would support our proposal for legal counsel for immigrants as a priority on day one when you take office. We would also like to thank Councilperson Joe DeWitt-Foy for committing on our endorsement form to support our proposal. And now that we know who our next mayor is, there is no reason for council to wait to take action on our proposal. Every day that we wait is a day that another community member is at risk for deportation. So international and foreign-born students are an integral part of Cleveland Heights fabric, particularly those at CASE. They volunteer, they innovate, and they spend locally. When they face deportation, we lose not just classmates, we lose future doctors, we lose engineers and entrepreneurs who want to build lives in Cleveland Heights. Local universities attract global talent that is essential for our communities. CASE has over 11,000 students and nearly 20% of our student body is international, representing at least 87 different countries. And these students enrich our campus life and they contribute to Cleveland Heights' innovative ecosystem. International students boost the economy. In Ohio, international students contribute $1.3 billion annually and support thousands of jobs. And nationwide, they add $44 billion to the US economy, and they create 1 job for every 4 students. And local impact matters. In Northeast Ohio, foreign-born residents significantly contribute to the economy. The rest of my colleagues will continue the statement. Thank you.
I'm having a little bit of trouble reading this one. Celine Gauthier? Is there a Celine?
Okay. Good night. Buenas noches. Oshgaldenis. Hello. My name is Selene Catalina Bardar Gotay. I am a part of the crew. 1862 123rd Street East. Yeah, so as I was saying, I am a part of the Crew Latino Medical Student Association, and I am here tonight with Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. We are here tonight to thank Mayor-elect Jim Petras for taking a stand for immigrant rights when you committed on our endorsement form that you would support a proposal for legal counsel for immigrants as a priority on day 1 when you take office. We would also like to thank Councilperson-elect Joe DeWitt-Foy for committing on our endorsement form to support our proposal. Now that we know who our next mayor is, there is no reason for council to wait to take action on our proposal. Every day we wait is a day that another community member is at risk of deportation. I am the proud immigrant daughter of Turkish immigrant Nedim Vardar. He immigrated to Chicago in 1995 to pursue a graduate degree in engineering. He met my mom in 1997 and they got married. Right after that, they had my sister. However, they had to leave the country. They had to flee to Turkey because of my dad's immigrant status. In 2003, they were able to return, and in 2004, I was born. I am here because just like my dad, he came to the US with a dream. International and foreign-born students are a part of Cleveland Heights fabric, particularly those at CASE. They volunteer, innovate, and spend locally. When they face deportation, we lose not just the classmates, we lose future doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs who want to build lives in Cleveland Heights. The reason why I'm attracted specifically to this cause is because students are being targeted for deportation. ICE enforcement against students is real and rising. Across the country, students have been detained for visa lapses or targeted during enforcement sweeps, often for exercising the American right to freedom of speech.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you.
Rochelle Wolf?
Hi, I'm Rochelle. I live on Fireland, that's near Cedar and Taylor. I'd just like to outline some of the talking points of the proposal. It's most efficient and it's effective. So the goal is providing free legal advice to immigrants, and it's most important way we can support immigrants at risk for detention or deportation. It saves money and time and ensures that residents know how to access services and advance planning in a crisis. What is due process? The government cannot take away someone's life, liberty, or property without following the law. That includes the right to defend yourself in a fair hearing before a fair judge and have a lawyer represent you in court. The Fifth Amendment guarantees due process to all people, not only citizens. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. It does not say no citizen, it says no person. The 14th Amendment protects everyone. It ensures that state and local government provide due process, equal protection to all people within their jurisdiction, regardless of immigration status. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. It does not say citizen, but all people within their jurisdiction. The 14th Amendment also ensures that every person born in the U.S. and every person who becomes a naturalized citizen is a citizen of the U.S. It declares that all persons born of naturalization or naturalized in the United States, the subject of jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States. And the importance, representation is so important because immigrants with legal representation are 10 times more likely to win their cases than those who go unrepresented. Legal counsel helps individuals to understand their rights, have a fair hearing, and avoid being wrongfully detained or deported. I feel that's very important. Partnering with outside counsel that has expertise in immigration law ensures that Cleveland Heights immigrants will have access to expert counsel.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you.
Jacqueline Rummer.
It's me again. As most of you already know, I'm Jacqueline Rimmer, resident of Monticello Boulevard and one of the establishing members of the Noble Area Business Association. But tonight I'm here to speak in support of fellow Noble business owner, Jose Quillis, and Thunderbolt Auto Care. It's not too often, especially in an industry like Jose's, that you come across someone who is honest and reliable in an auto shop. In the brief time that I've known Jose, he has not only given his time and his talents via his services, but also his finances to the Cleveland Heights community. He doesn't even live here. He has been more than gracious to the residents here, always willing to lend a helping hand, constantly offering advice, and he's asked very little in return. And by all accounts, it seems that not only has his business, but that of the business before him operated under the understanding and what could be considered a gentleman's agreement that the parking spaces that overlap public works could be utilized by the shop. Given the information provided here tonight, I hope that prior to the letter issued in June, that conversations were at least had about the spaces and their usage. And I really wish it would not have come to the point that we're at today. You know, I've seen the suggestions and I agree that they are not a suitable compromise. But what I do know is that in the very meetings where the council and the public, in the departments where they say, oh, let's try to keep businesses in the city and try to get more businesses to come to this city, there also doesn't seem to be any real answer about how to stop pushing away one particular business while it seems to also be killing that same business at the same time.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Jose Quillis.
I've tried to do my part. I've been a good neighbor. I've been an advocate for the city. I've done everything that I can. I've tried to discuss the situation with open arms, time and time again. We cannot survive without parking. And if what the city proposes today is the solution, we will die. We will not survive this. I don't know what more I can do. Without parking, we have no clients. No business can survive on goodwill alone. We can't do it. I'm tired of coming up here and pleading my case and crying. This isn't right, and you all know it. You all know it. You all know that this is not right. There's enough space in that parking lot to figure this out. I'm done.
Eileen Rammerman.
Good evening. I'm Eileen Rammerman from Rutherford Road, and I'm here tonight to support Jose Quiles and Thunderbolt Auto Care. He represents what we all say is important to our community, a small business owner who provides employment for diverse individuals. Although he's not a resident, he chooses to do business in our community because our values align with his. All are welcome in our city, and all are welcome at Thunderbolt as employees and as customers. His business is on Noble Road in a neighborhood where we know residents frequently express that they feel less support and consideration from the city than other more affluent neighborhoods receive. It's a neighborhood that desperately needs to attract small businesses so residents can support local businesses close to their homes and experience the vibrance of a neighborhood that welcomes new business and economic development. Many Cleveland Heights residents, including me, are friends and customers of Jose and Thunderbolt. We are aware that Jose and the city have been going back and forth in good faith negotiations, we thought, since June, to hopefully solve a parking problem which has recently negatively impacted his business. After decades of permitting the previous business owner and subsequently Jose to park customer vehicles in an area that is partially owned by Jose or encroaching on the city's lot, now he's been told that usage is severely limited. With far less available parking, he's decreasing significantly the number of service appointments he offers, resulting in serious loss of revenue. I know that all of you on council, as well as interim Mayor Kuda, have shown concern and support and have worked toward resolution. And I am aware that certain department heads have done so as well. But I understand that none of these resolutions have met Jose's needs. I know too that despite the slideshow tonight, residents and customers who support Jose's situation still perceive that the Public Works lot is significantly underutilized and as such are confused as to why it's taking so long. A small business does not have the resources and the luxury of time that the city does. And my request to you all is to please dig deep to find a solution. And I would like to know if anyone told Jose that there was going to be a formal presentation tonight, because I would feel very blindsided.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Very blindsided.
Yes.
Edgar Mitchell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to say that I'm proud to be here. I went through the election last week, a week ago, so I'm happy you got that over with, and I hope that whoever won, well, I know who won, but whoever you guys are, do what the hell you're supposed to do. Help the people in Cleveland Heights. I mean, I didn't come up here to play. I come up here to be serious, because I talked to the guy that I talked to. I got two properties I'm talking about tonight. One at 1062 Neela View with the Be Healthy tree that's in front of it that had destroyed the sanitary sewer and also the storm sewers underneath the house. And I want the, sewer man to get with me, bring some people out, let them put the cameras or whatever they want in there and see what this Healthy tree has done. Okay, I'm sorry to feel a little angry, but I hear some of the things that's going on, and it kind of bothers me that a big city like Cleveland Heights can't find solutions to these little problems that we got. I mean, there's enough room around here that they can put up a gate or whatever with all the knowledge and all the people they got that's supposed to be smart. They can put up a big gate to block some of this stuff and open up enough room for Jose, who I have met here, who I think is really trying to make his business successful in Cleveland Heights. Also next door to another house that I live in at 2025 Goodnoor, 2029 Goodnoor has been empty for about 3 or 4 years. And there's a lot of different stuff laying around the house that I wish someone would make the owners or whoever the owners are come and clean that up. Right now, I'm getting rodents coming across from that empty house, raccoons, rodents, and all kind of stuff. and that's coming in and I have to try to keep out because of this empty property next door to my property. So, look into 2029 Goodnoe and see why this house has been empty 3 or 4 years with nobody forcing the owners of that property to straighten all that out. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that for tonight, but hopefully we can find some solutions to some of these problems we have. The new mayor, the new whatever that's here, you gotta get up and do this, get this right.
Thank you.
You can't succeed with everything. Thank you. I appreciate Cleveland Heights allowing us to come up and express our, thoughts.
Madam President,
we can do something about that.
While he's there, I wanted to give him an update on the house next door to him. That house was actually, someone filed a complaint with the county. And so it just so happens, I spoke to someone there and they're going to reach out to someone with the city. There's a couple other things going on with that house. But some folks complained to the county health department about some of those rodents as well. Apparently, some residents that are behind you as well, there's some things that are going on. So I'll make sure I follow up with you on that as well. But I know that a request was also submitted, but the county is actually coming out to that property this week again.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And give Anthony Maddox a hand because when I come up here, he always reaches out and try to help. A lot of people don't do nothing, but the man is on it, so give him a hand.
Rachel Bagal, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
I live on East 115th Street. So my name is Rachel. I know I've seen many of you guys before. I'm a student at Case Western Reserve University, and I'm representing Cleveland Heights for immigrant rights in support of our legislation to provide legal defense for immigrants. As many of you know now, my parents are immigrants here into the United States. They worked their way up without anyone to help them, no family members here, no one to tell them how the country worked, no one to tell them how to get a job here. And our entire lives have been shaped by the naturalization process. You can imagine the work visas that my parents brought home eventually turning into a green card membership. And then finally on my 11th birthday, celebrating that green card. And then in 2019, they finally got naturalized. I remember helping them for that test to get naturalized as well. Last week, I was working with one of my students at the university to help them with peer academic coaching. They disclosed to me that their friend that they had been friends with for 17 years, who has birthright citizenship in this country, with parents who got naturalized in 1992, got deported from the west side of Cleveland. Over this weekend in Charlotte, South Carolina, the National Guard and ICE have been deported into the country, or into that city, and have detained 81 people. They've been camping out at churches, schools, outside of supermarkets. Even yesterday on Sunday, there was an ICE agent in a truck camping out in the Dave's parking lot right across Severance Hall, where we're all meeting today. So I stand here today urging you all to please support this legislation. Please provide this kind of detention or this legal defense that many people need, because we can't stand to see more people get hurt in our community or wait for someone else to get taken like the 2 people were on Hampshire Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Jamie Hickner.
Jamie Hickner, 2900 Edgehill Road. On behalf of Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights, I ask you to approve funding for legal representation of immigrants at risk of detention and deportation. I've appreciated hearing from some case students here tonight supporting that work. As an educator, I'm going to share a little bit of my thoughts about how I'm concerned about how anti-immigrant policies are impacting children. Roughly 1 in 12 U.S. children risk losing a loved one to deportation. This causes long-term trauma and adversity. Cleveland Heights has approximately 6,500 school-aged children. 1 in 12 would mean that 542 of our children could be living in fear that someone they love could be deported. Before January 2025, ICE was prohibited from carrying out enforcement operations at so-called sensitive locations like schools. Now, ICE can raid playgrounds, childcare centers, school bus stops in schools, whether public, private, or parochial. Children are witnessing ICE raids targeting their parents, siblings, and other family members. As Alberto Cavallo, superintendent of LA Unified School District, said, When children witness peers, parents, or other individuals detained, the image is not easily erased. These moments imprint on young minds, distracting them from academic lessons and replacing intellectual curiosity with worry. K-12 students have been detained and deported during enforcement actions. Minors have been zip-tied, arrested at gunpoint, and held for days without access to family. Children on playgrounds have been exposed to tear gas and have witnessed National Guard and ICE officers in riot gear attacking people. Public health and child development experts have found that ICE's militarized enforcement actions are leading to anxiety, trauma, suicidal ideation, and other mental health issues for children in mixed status and immigrant families. Schools are seeing the need for more counseling. As families are separated, more children are left vulnerable to trafficking and exploitation, destabilized family life, increased child poverty, and long-term harm. Thank you for your attention.
Douglas Whipple.
Good evening, Madam President, members of council. My name is Douglas Whipple, 1518 South Taylor Road. On November 12th, the Planning Commission met to discuss the Severance Town Center and the impact proposal. For the record, impact is spelled M-P-A-C-T. The minutes are not yet available. However, I recall the public making two important points. One, that the city should not proceed too quickly on this proposed amendment, but give it more careful consideration. And B, that the recommendations of the Severance Action Group, also known as SAG, have not been sufficiently considered. On November 14, 2 days later, I submitted a public records request to the city to obtain documents from the SAG to the Cleveland Heights Planning Commission, Cleveland Heights City Council, Cleveland Heights Mayor and/or City Administrator, and only for a reasonable time going backwards. I reassure Law Director Hanna and each of you that the Law Department has not had sufficient time to provide the responsive documents to me. But I respectfully suggest that this council and its constituents would be much more knowledgeable about this situation and this significant decision about Severance Center if I and others were able to evaluate the SAC documents. If I were a member of City Council, I would choose to postpone my vote until my constituents have had access to the SAG documents. Thank you.
Matthew Carey.
Good evening, Council. My name is Matthew Carey and I live on Overlook Road. I want to begin by expressing my appreciation for the robust and thoughtful discussion at last week's Planning Commission. I believe the Planning Commission's work laid a strong foundation and I'm very grateful for their diligence. Tonight, I'm speaking in support of the ordinances to adopt the Severance Overlay zoning district. The overlay is not just a zoning update, but a critical tool for the long-term health and sustainability of Cleveland Heights. Our city generates the majority of its revenue from income taxes, which fund things that residents care deeply about, whether that's preserving the Shaker Lakes, investing in beautiful public spaces, or providing legal and social services for vulnerable members of our community. But population drives that revenue, and we all know the unfortunate reality. Cleveland Heights has lost a substantial share of its population since its historic peak. If we want thriving retail districts, if we want full, stable schools, if we want the fiscal capacity to pursue environmental priorities, housing affordability, and neighborhood reinvestment, then we need more people living here. The easiest, most effective, and most fiscally responsible way to do that is by enabling more homes to be built. And that's exactly what the overlay calls for. More units of housing in the parts of the city that are well prepared for it, where the infrastructure already exists and being open to reinvestment can have the greatest impact. The severance overlay does this by allowing a mix of housing types, encouraging walkability, and setting the stage for redevelopment that matches contemporary market expectations. It creates a clear framework that signals to the development community that Cleveland Heights is open for business and that it's serious about transforming Severance into a vibrant, mixed-use district that can once again anchor the East Side. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Matthew.
Lawrence Bradley.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lawrence Bradley. I am a tax-paying citizen that is against the Blanche Road Extension Project. The Blanche Road Extension Project is something that doesn't benefit the tax-paying citizens of Cleveland Heights. If we, the citizens, were asked, we would have never, the project would have never occurred. Cleveland Heights administrators intentionally kept the project hidden from the tax-paying citizens. It was only found out after residents' rumors were leaked. In fact, still no city council member has even admitted knowing about the project. The project only benefits a specific group of people, most of whom are not currently tax-paying citizens of Cleveland Heights. The project is benefiting outside sources. The new homes will have a new street, a new house, and will receive 10 or 15-year tax abatements, while the tax-paying citizens, the current tax-paying citizens, will receive absolutely nothing. Even in the city of Cleveland Heights, I don't see the benefit from it. Why are our tax dollars funding a project that does not benefit the tax-paying citizens of Cleveland Heights? The money should be used to fix existing tax-paying citizen streets such as Bainbridge, Blanche, or even Severance Circle to attract new businesses. We have been asked to provide comments on the proposed extension project for environmental review, and there's a number of issues that are there. First, the land behind our houses right now is a high water table and supports an ecosystem for migrations of animals in the area, one of which are the ducks, which return every year in the spring. Building the road will disrupt this ecosystem and disperse the animals. Second, the high water table will affect the structure of existing homes, of our homes. It is unknown how much, but currently all the garages there are buckled or have cracks in them. Third, the land has been developed in over 90 years, making it a haven for wildlife. Now, so the wildlife would be dispersed, and that may cause unsafe condition for the residents. Fourth, trees would be destroyed that would affect the carbon level. The noise would cause us issues, and the privacy and the serenity for tax-paying citizens will be lost, which is a primary reason we bought the properties on these streets, both Bainbridge and Blanche.
Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it.
Lou Radovojevich.
Lou Radovojevich, Middlehurst Road. I came here with the intent of talking about my street, Bricks, and now that we're talking about the budget, that we would definitely focus also and have a plan, I guess, for the 5 roads that are brick roads. My street's no longer cute, it's got moguls, it's gonna sink, so we don't want it paved, but we do ask that the city actually thinks about the brick roads and comes up with a game plan. But more importantly, I want to talk about what I just transpired here in the beginning of this. I looked at the agenda before I got here, and I didn't see any recollection about the presentation that was delivered by Public Works. Zero. I knew grumblings that perhaps Eileen was going to chat about this and discuss about his situation, but that was a premeditated presentation. That was a 10-minute presentation that took time. That took time from the department to call him out. He got blindsided. Did you know anything about what just took place on that screen? I put myself, I'm a small business owner. I've been running a small business for 25 years. I saw the pain in his eyes looking at that screen, basically being embarrassed on the spot here. That is not good. That is not good PR. That's horrible. To try and drive new businesses into our city, we've got to do better. I'm sorry, the content was fine, but that presentation was ridiculous. For every other small business owner out there, you've got to be more sensitive to this. You have no idea what it takes to run a small business, to have that kind of overhead always on your shoulder, paying other people. So that's my ask, is that you've got to be much more sensitive to this. Thank you.
Harriet Applegate. She left? Oh, okay.
My name's Harriet Applegate. I live on Crest. I gave a presentation a couple days ago to the Planning Commission, but I'm not going to read those words. I want to express my extreme dismay with what is essentially an add-on to Severance Circle. It puts a big nose on to the east of Severance Circle, by means of which they're putting all these streets, this possibility for streets, and even though Ryan Porter says the woods are not going to be touched, it is impossible for them not to be touched according to the maps that are part of the overlay and will be part of the zoning. Let me just point out, we have Staunton Road, which goes straight up due north to the stables. It goes, once it passes Severn, and goes into the woods there. As you know, the school district has a road that goes straight to the stables. In these maps, all of the maps, that road veers twice to the right. And you can see on every single map, the first veer is significant. It veers, well, you can't see it from here, but it goes to the right and then goes straight through, what they call the buffer area. But there is no way putting housing at 45 houses in that area north of the property, the Metro Health property, and south of the post office. They've got, one of the renderings shows, you can see it, you can see from there, it shows a substantial housing development, 45 homes and 1, 2, 3, 4 other big buildings, all between Severance and the post office. And there's no way you're going to put all that stuff in without encroaching on those woods. It just cannot happen. So I think, the maps that are in the proposal are the maps. Check them out. That Staunton Road extension veers east 2 times, and then it puts a road in directly into the circle north of that. So I just think the maps, I think, tell a story that we all need to study carefully.
Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you.
Catherine Dahlem.
Thank you for letting me talk. I did not know about Jose's plight before tonight, but I just want to say, please help him. It sounds like so real that he needs your help. I live on Crest Road, basically right behind the post office, and I sometimes hear the beep, beep, beep of the 3 o'clock in the morning of the trucks backing up. So the green space is very, very important to us on Crest Road. I live in a 125-year-old house. The first owner was John Severance Milliken, and he promised in his will that there would be always this green space. And in the plans, I saw that there was going to be a road that connects onto Crest Road from Severance. And already Crest Road, that my neighbor, when I moved in, said that it was horse and buggy and a dirt road, but now we have cars going 45 and 50 miles an hour down Crest Road. I mean, I don't know what would happen if we had another road connecting from Severance. So I just ask you to reconsider the roads that you want to add to Crest Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jennifer Wintner.
Jennifer Wintner, Scarborough Road. I'm also a member of the Severance Action Group, or SAG. And I just wanted to point out the irony that I found in the Council of the Whole meeting this evening when Council heard a report on communication. It also heard superficial discussion of the proposed zoning chapter and omission of discussion of repercussions of that zoning. I don't think that most of Council or the community understand that this zoning, and it's got the maps that are set in stone, to quote Ryan, precludes the type of development that Council, SAG, and many other residents have said that they want. The zoning calls for high-density housing, vast swaths of parking, and minimal green space within the Namdar-owned Severance property. The only areas zoned for low-density housing are outside the ring road on property that Namdar and Impact do not control. Namdar has neglected Severance for almost a decade. The proposed zoning creates the regulatory framework by authorizing high-density development for Namdar to maximize the sales price it charges for its land. The zoning does not reflect city desires or market demand for Severance. Why would the city even consider meeting Namdar's arbitrary deadline without extensive discussion about the type of development the community wants and zoning that would facilitate that type of development? It is imperative that council slow the review process down. Please defer making any decision about Severance rezoning until the city gets a real development plan that it's satisfied with. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
James Williams.
James Williams, 25 Severance Circle. Drifting on a memory. Ain't no place I'd rather be than with you. Loving you. Yeah. We will make a way for night. All we'll need is candlelight and a song, soft and long. Well, sad to see a new horizon slowly coming into view. I wanna be living for the love of you. Thank you for that. I'm probably missed a couple of words there, but it's okay, right? But I was just sitting there thinking about how I was it was September 11th, 01, and I remember sitting in Miss Spizak's class, running back and forth to Mrs. Frazier, working on a summer reading project at Cleveland Heights High School, and the trade towers was coming down, and that was a moment there. But I would like to see if the director or administrator and the mayor would be able to include in documents going forward in the future whether families are the spouse of a veteran, or maybe even someone that has lost a spouse or a child on documents, so that we can better account and take recognition of those families that have lost someone in the military. Thank you.
James.
That's all the public comment we have this evening.
Thank you, Addie, very much. Let's begin legislation, please. And these are for first readings of consideration of adoption requested.
I have ordinance number 230-2025 on first reading, and ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 011-2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 231-2025 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the sale of K-9 Officer Dodo to his handler for the sum of $1 and declaring the necessity this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to say I am happy to see this happen with these animals that contribute so much to our safety. So thank you, Officer Dodo, and he's going to a good home. We know that, so happy. All right, my turn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 233-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Sosick Painting and Remodeling LLC, a certified lead abatement contractor for the use of Lead Safe Ohio grant funds in connection with the abatement of lead-based paint hazards at permanent parcel number 681-11-011, providing compensation therefore and declaring the necessity this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 234-2025 on first reading, a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Helen Hertz as a member of the Community Improvement Corporation of the City of Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? I'm happy to see as another property that will be rehabilitated and be safe for the little ones that go to daycare there. So I'm happy to see this legislation come through. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 235-2025.
Are we understanding the last thing we just voted on? I think what was read, and I think just based on your statement, it doesn't align. I just want to make sure we're voting on the right piece of legislation.
This would be 234-2025, which would be the appointment of Helen Hertz.
Helen Hertz. Yeah, just based on what you said, I thought it was something. You mentioned a daycare, so I just want.
That's the previous piece.
That previous construction is going into a building has a daycare in it, the lead safe.
Madam President, you're referencing 233-2025. Which is the Sosick painting, which we already voted on. This is 234-2025, which is the Helen Hertz appointment.
All right, my apologies.
No,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Maddox.
Okay. All right, we got through that one. So, sorry guys. Resolution number 235-2025 on first reading, a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Linda Strieski as a member of the Community Improvement Corporation of the City of Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So
moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I am going to not support this appointment. I just want to say to the Cleveland Heights residents, you all need to start getting more involved because the same people keep getting appointed to all of the substantial committees. Have nothing against the person at all, but she was just the chair of our CRC. She is the president of the Democratic Club, and now she's being appointed to this. I think people in our community need to step up so we can get more people involved because we keep appointing the same people to rich committees that is dominating what we are doing within our city. So I am not going to move forward in my vote for this person.
Madam President.
Councilor Maddox.
I'll also be voting no. We actually denied a previous appointment of Drew Herzik based on the fact that he had just served on the committee, and now we're appointing Linda Strieski to this committee. I have my concerns as well. It just seems like we're just recycling the same people over and over and over again when it suits us. We already have an entire slate heading into this council, and now we're appointing the head of the Cleveland Heights Dems to be on the CIC, one of the most powerful committees in this city. And I think residents do need to pay attention to more of what's happening in this city. I've got major issues with this, and so I will also be voting no.
Councilor Posh.
I'm going to be voting yes for this. We have an individual here who has done a phenomenal job in the Charter Review Commission. Absolutely outstanding that I believe most of the council members, if not everybody, praised her work in that role. I will agree with my peers that we need to get more people involved. We need to get more good people involved. But that doesn't mean we penalize a good person that is up for this as being introduced by Mayor Kuda.
Anyone else? Councilor Petrus.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to say that I was happy to see that the mayor chose to nominate Linda for this position. Linda is a retired real estate lawyer who is one of the most respected people in her field. And given the nature of this body, I think that she will be an excellent addition.
All right, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Addie, please.
Cobb.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Russell. Maddox.
Absolutely not.
Petrus.
Aye.
Posh.
Yes.
Sheets.
Aye. Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 236-2025 on first reading, a resolution appointing Natalie Davis as a member of the Fair Practices Board to fill a vacancy for the remainder of an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2026, and declaring the necessity of this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Councilmember Cobb.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 237-2025 on first reading, a resolution appointing Gary Benjamin as the alternate member of the Fair Practices Board to fill a vacancy for the remainder of an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2027, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Councilmember Cobb.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 238-2025 on first reading, a resolution appointing Mohammed Irfan as a member of the Climate and Environmental Sustainability Committee of the City of Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Councilmember Cobb.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 239-2025 on first reading, a resolution appointing Rachel Moore as a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee of the City of Cleveland Heights, Ohio, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Councilmember Cobb.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 240-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Serpentini Chevrolet of Strongsville for the purchase of 4 2026 Chevrolet Equinox EVs for the Planning and Development Department and Communications Department, waiving competitive bidding and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next are first readings only.
I have ordinance number 241-2025 on first reading, an ordinance to make appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for a period of January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
I just want to let everyone know this is the budget for 2026. So you will see this legislation again as we continue to look at the elements and components of the budget in our Finance Committee meeting and in council meetings going forward. Hopefully we'll have it passed by the end of year. Second readings.
I have resolution number 224-2025 on second reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with CXT Inc., a Sourcewell cooperative purchasing vendor, for the purchase and installation of a precast concrete bathroom for Dennison Park, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just excited to see this happen. This is just the next step. I know many of you heard the discussion that we had around Dennison Park and a potential future pool. I was proud to continue to stand with Councilwoman Russell to push this and make sure that we've gotten the splash pad, but that's just the beginning of what needs to happen at Dennison Park. So I'm really glad to see this investment on the north side of town. Looking forward to see what else we can add to this, but I'm really, really excited to see these restrooms go in as part of the splash pad and all of the upgrades that have currently happened so far at Dennison. So shout out to the city for really investing in Dennison Park in that way, but I'm looking forward to continue to see this continue.
Vice President Russell.
I agree. Thank you so much for the upgrades. I look forward to the toddler playground next and anything else we can do to upgrade Dennison Park. So thank you.
this facility, according to Director Gonzalez, will be a good addition to that splash pad area and will provide everybody with a clean building that will last for a very long time. So kudos to Director Gonzalez for reaching out to this company. So I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have ordinance number 225-2025 on second reading, and ordinance amending Part 13 Building Code of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland Heights to update the city's regulations regarding public notice for the Architectural Board of Review, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Councilor Sheets did second. That's all right. Councilor Sheets, speak up. It's confident. Sorry. Thank you. I'm going to call all in favor. Aye.
Comment?
Oh, excuse me. Any discussion?
If I could.
Go ahead, Councilor Petros.
Just like to note that this legislation was referred to the Housing and Building Committee. We met last week, we discussed this, and we felt comfortable returning this to Committee of the Whole, where we briefly discussed this evening and supported moving this forward.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Third reading.
I have resolution number 214-2025 on third reading, a resolution authorizing a grant agreement with the Noble Area Business Association and declaring the necessity of this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Vice President Russell.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Second, I'm sorry.
Discussion? Councilor Posh?
I'm supporting this legislation. I think it's long overdue to have a merchant association in the Noble neighborhood. I am a little concerned, though, that the contract doesn't specify that there needs to be a sustainability piece to this, where you'll look into making this a CDC or something along that lines, just so it can thrive like our other business districts. Now, I've been told by the folks that are running this and the folks that have introduced this legislation that is in the works. It's important to them. I trust them. And I still think this is the right thing, and it's certainly worth a vote, a yes, in my opinion.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Councilor Cobb over here.
So I am going to be voting for this legislation. I am a little disappointed that my motives have been questioned for demanding fiscal responsibility and accountability for the $300,000 plus that we are giving to this organization. There is no one on the city council that has attended more special improvement district meetings than myself since I've been on city council. And this is money that is essentially going to fund, although it's called a merchants association, going to fund a special improvement district. So yes, I insisted that there be some parameters, that there be a conflict of interest provision, that there be a requirement that this organization has to maintain its nonprofit status with the federal government and its nonprofit status with the Secretary of State of Ohio, so they're in good standing. I am pleased to vote for this legislation. I hope that this is a successful endeavor, and only time will tell whether this is going to be able to be a self-sustaining organization, which I hope they will be able to. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Councilor Sheets.
I'm going to vote for this. However, I would like to see the cuts that were made come from the marketing budget and be allocated to the actual businesses, so that the businesses can thrive in that area, so that employment can increase in that area. I am seeing that $60,000 came from the businesses. I want to see that go back into the businesses. This is an underserved area, and I think it is time for them to be served. So that was my question to the budget that was submitted. But I want to see a good and genuine utilization of these funds, and I want to see it like done measurably, so that not only can we on council see the results, but the merchants that are in that area, the homeowners that are in that area, and the people that you intend to invite into that area for the events. So again, I would like to see that money allocated towards economic development and improving the quality of living in that area.
Vice President Russell and then Councilor Maddox.
Go ahead, Maddox.
I just want to say this, for me, is one of my most proudest pieces of legislation I'll be voting on before leaving office December 31st. I think this speaks to empowering the Noble Road neighborhood like never before. I think this opens up an opportunity for us to see real transformation and change. You provided a vehicle for us to be able to do that, to articulate that change, a space for people to lead. And so I think you're going to see that here. What I will say to the residents is exactly what I said over in the other room. Hold this this council and your new mayor accountable for Noble. If in 2 to 4 years you don't see change, I don't care what they say, it's not your fault, it's this leadership's fault. So much has happened over the last several years of disinvestment, going back and forth in terms of improvements in this area. It's time for real change. A lot of folks voted. A lot of folks ran and made promises. It's time for the voters to hold people accountable here. There are people who are on this dais, who are appearing on this dais that have barely stepped foot in the Noble Road area. You need to make sure that they know what's happening in those neighborhoods. I know I will. My mama and my father still live there. And so just know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to make sure that Noble continues to look like it looks. I said this over in the other room and I'll say it here. Whether I'm sitting in this chair or that mic, my voice still does what it does. And they will see me every week if this does not shift in the right direction. The time to help Noble is now. This is the first step. I'm excited to see what's happening over at Denison, but there needs to be major movement, not just in the investment of our businesses, but our homes, our parks, transportation, our programming. There's so much partnerships with East Cleveland. Noble, do not let them ignore your East Cleveland partners and try to do this on their own. That's exactly what's been happening over the last several years. And so again, I'm excited to vote on this. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to see the partnership, not just with East Cleveland, but with Cuyahoga County as well. Your Cuyahoga County council members are extremely excited to see this happen. So I'm looking forward to see what happens. And thank you so much, Councilwoman Russell, for taking a lead on this with the Noble Road Business District. And I'm excited to see it. So like I say with everything else, let's get it, let's go. Thank you.
President Russell.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank Myra Osteen for, most of you all don't know, but the Noble area has been neglected for 40 years. So it doesn't fall on just this council. It falls on every council prior to us. Prior to us. 40 years is a long time for a district not to have any revenue or resources. People can say what they want to say, and it's good to be accountable to the dollars of the city. It is good to put in parameters to make sure that the city is being safe. But it's not good to put in parameters that takes forever. This has been going on for 5 years. I've started this when I got on council. This will be 6 years at the end of December. I legislated $5 million, 2 to Taylor and 2 to Noble 6 years ago. Nothing has happened. I've been working on this project for 5 years, the splash pad, the dog park, walking your dogs in the park. All of these things I've been working on and nothing has come to fruition. For this to take 3 readings is unacceptable to me. When we pass things here for millions of dollars on second readings, this is unacceptable. I appreciate my council members being diligent about making sure everything is in order. But things has to be timely. It doesn't come after the fact. When we're asking, what do you need? Don't wait till we come to another meeting and tell us what you need for another meeting. Give it to us up front. I asked in the last committee of the whole, what do we need to provide to make sure you are satisfied? Nothing. We can do it by email. But we all have to be talking the same talk in the same room. That means bringing all our expectations, all of our expectations to the table at once and identifying what each of us want in a contract so we can move forward. But if we keep nitpicking it one piece at a time every meeting and kicking it down the road, I was very worried if it was going to ever pass before I left council on the last of December. President Kuda told me, I called him and I asked him for two things. Before I left council, please make sure that you ask the law department for Noble Road and Taylor Merchants Association be a priority so that it passes before I leave in December. I also asked that they make sure that the dog park that I legislated that was put in the park plan money be allocated for that dog park. That's all. That will end the things I have started. That's all I'm looking for, to a closure of what I have put forward. I am so happy that my council members are voting on this, even with the stipulations they want. But these stipulations should have been done a long time ago. It should not have gone to a third reading. So thank you so very much. Thank you, the Noble Merchants, for being here and for your diligent support. Myra, thank you for hanging in there with me for 5 years, who actually came in and said, I will help. So thank you all. Thank you for the Taylor Merchants who are here to support the Noble Merchants, because your turn is next. Thank you.
I feel that I need to speak up. Yes, you've been working on it for 5 years, Vice President Russell, but we have had this legislation for this is the third reading, yes, but we had questions that need to be answered. I wanted to know if the funding was available. We're talking $306,000, folks. That is a lot of money, and we are charged with being diligent servants to our public to make sure that that money is going to be spent in a way that the Noble Business Association can see the changes, they get enough money, they can do what they want to do, and we see transformation on Noble Road. I'd also like to say I've been asking for the amount of seed money that has been, it's in the agreement, but it's a blank space. It still has not been provided this evening. I'm going to support this evening, but sometimes the information has not been there, Vice President Russell and Councilor Maddox, and I had to take this liberty to say, we have tried to get this to make sure that this happens. I live in the Noble neighborhood. I'm looking forward to seeing the benefits on the section that's up by my house, across from Noble Elementary. That particular retail strip can use some support. And that's all I'm going to say. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Okay, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Sheets.
Yes.
Posh.
Yes.
Petrus.
Aye.
Russell.
Aye.
Maddox.
Absolutely, yes.
Cobb.
Aye.
Larson.
Yes. Motion passes. I'm going to move on to committee reports. Anyone have a committee report? Councilor Posh.
There's a Finance Committee meeting tomorrow night at 5 p.m. A good part of the agenda is for the budget. There's some other finance issues. We've had a special report that Council Member Maddox has been working on. I would like to get with you, Council Member Maddox, just to see how much time you need. I think there's some, you've been sort of put on the back burner too many times. I mean, there's been a lot of financial situations that we had to deal with. But I think enough is enough. We really need to get your presentation in if you're ready to give it. Otherwise, I'm happy to have a special meeting for you just regarding your topic so you have as much time as you need. So tomorrow at 5. Oh, in the executive conference room.
Councilor Cobb.
Yes. I am going to be moving my committee meeting that's normally held on the last Monday of the month to December. I'm going to do that because we are going to be seeking applications for the Planning Commission. We'll have 2 vacancies. We are going to try and fill out our Arts Commission. There are up to 7 vacancies for that. We have a vacancy on our Parks and Recreation Board, and we have a vacancy on our City Advisory Committee, and we may have one vacancy on our Senior Advisory Board. We'll try and get an announcement out in the city newsletter on those appointments. Please try and get your applications in by November 26th. And again, you can go to the city's website and their directions as to how to fill an application out. If anyone has any questions, they can email me or they can call me, and I'll be glad to talk to them about serving on any of these boards or commissions.
I would just like for everyone to know that the Planning and Development Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, the 19th. We will be discussing at 10:30 the Taylor Merchants Association and getting all of those ducks in a row. At 11:45, we will be talking about the zoning for severance. I've invited the SAG group as well as the Planning and Development Department, as well as Ryan will be on, I think he said Zoom. He will be on Zoom. So at this meeting, you will be able to ask questions as well, whoever's going to attend. So if you need to know anything about it, it will be a long meeting. We should have about an hour, about 15 minutes for zoning, and about an hour and 15 minutes for the Taylor Merchants Association. So hopefully that if any council members have any questions or any details, once we present everything to them, they give you the information they need quickly. Thank you.
Councilor Posh.
This might be directed to Addie. It might be directed to Councilman Cobb. The Arts Commission, do you fill that application on the mayor's boards and commissions?
Yes, that's correct.
That's okay, because I don't believe there's a spot for council member on the council committees for that to go in.
I have a committee report. Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability Committee will be meeting tomorrow at November 18th at 6 p.m. We have a piece of legislation to consider. So that is all for committee reports, it looks like. So we'll move on to old business. New business. Councilor Cobb.
Yes, just to follow up on the discussion that we had in Committee of the Whole about arts, and in particular arts in the Noble area. I'm going to be asking that the budget for next year get modified to account for an arts assessment by Land Studio to supplement what is in the legislation for the art that we have allocated for Noble Road. I brought that up in our budget hearing last week. And I'll follow up with Future Heights to make sure I can get some cost estimate on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that.
Council member comments?
What? I guess I'm speaking a lot tonight.
Councilor Cobb, would you please speak up?
Sure. Even though I live on the other side of town, I have voted for every piece of legislation that has come before this council that has involved improving or providing funding for the Noble neighborhood. I point out that at one time, a majority of city council members lived north of Mayfield, several in the Noble neighborhood. I have regularly attended meetings of the Noble neighbors and not just around election time. I think I've attended more meetings than any other city council member. I also point out, and frankly, there's no excuse for the delay in getting the ARPA dollars out from the original legislation dating back to the legislation that Council Member Russell first passed allocating money, and then we reaffirmed those allocations when we made the general allocations in December of 2024. I would just like to point out that we allocated in December of 24 $300,000 for the Coventry SID. those dollars are just now starting to get spent and allocated. So it took some time for the money that we allocated to get to Coventry. We have not given any money to the Lee Road Business District. We haven't given any money to the Cedar Leaf Fairmount District. So I just, this is the legislative process, the contracting process. It moves slow. It moves slower than people would like it to do, but it's not intentional that it has taken us time to get this money out. Then I'll just also say this. We also allocated money for business assistance to small businesses, and that money is just now starting to get out. So while it appears on its face that we singled out Noble for some delay, that delay has occurred citywide in terms of getting the ARPA dollars out.
No more council comments?
Madam President,
Councilor Maddox?
I'll simply say this. There are at least two of us up here that never had to convince you that we were in Noble. And don't have to tell you what meetings we attended or anything else. You just know we were there. I expect the rest of this council to behave that way going the next 4 years, and I hope you see them. That's all I have to say to you. I never had to convince you, and I'll be there tomorrow. In fact, I'll see you guys there. Thank you.
Council President, may I?
Councilor Sheets?
Okay, I would like to say for the Taylor Merchants, for that association, make sure that you are active in the process. If you want to make the process move faster, make sure you're active. Speak your request. Again, as Vice President Council stated, speak your request. Be present, be aware of every step. Come to all of the meetings, know who's on your board. Ask to volunteer or step up and be on your board. Be a voice. Make sure that you represent you. And you'll be able to see this process move a lot faster. That's all I have to say. Just make sure that you're there to represent yourselves also.
Vice President Russell?
Yes, it's been a long night. And first of all, I want to thank all my council people for voting on this legislation. And I think maybe people were a little confused of my statement. My statement was not of the criticism of what the budget was or the comments that you made. My criticism is of all of the accusations not coming up front forward, because that is our job, is to critique and make sure the city is safe, make sure our residents is safe. I'm not saying that what you have done is wrong. What I'm saying is we had several meetings in the Planning and Development Committee. The Planning and Development staff members, if you talk to them, they will tell you. They were very supportive in that room if you were not aware. It is good that we talk about what's going on, but if we ask, and the merchants has been a part of it every step of the way, but if the merchants and the people who are asking, what do you want next from us, then we should be giving them everything we want on the table that first meeting or that second meeting, not bits and pieces at a time. That's what drags things out. So all I'm saying is, I don't want anybody to misthink that I'm saying we shouldn't scrutinize any money we give out. We should. We should make sure the city is safe. But things can move a lot faster if everybody knows what we're talking about at the same time and everybody put their cards on the table. So those things can be addressed very rapidly so things can move forward. So I'm very happy about this, and I hope more is to come by our elected mayor, and I'm quite sure he will add more to the Noble and Taylor area as he moves forward. So I look forward to working with you and anything I can do to help you in that area as well. So thank you all, my council members, for your support.
All right, the President's report. Councilor Petrus, as mayor-elect, will be vacating his position on council effective January 1, 2026. To begin this process of appointing someone to fill that vacancy, council will be accepting applications from December 1st, 2025 until December 15th, 2025. The applications will be available for you to fill out on the city website. If you're interested and have questions, please feel free to reach out to me at glarson@clevelandheights.gov. Per a request from Councilor Petrus, I am removing him from the Administrative Services Committee, and I will take his place to ensure we have 3 members on that committee until the end of the year. This meeting is adjourned at 9:24.